You are Locked On Twins Postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Twins win a game. Watch out. Here they come. Red hot, 4-0. Your final versus the Royals in KC. They avoid the 3-game sweep tonight. What's going on back in the lab? Back at it. Another Twins Postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. Got my man with me, CJ Baumgartner. Follow him on X at BaumCJ30. He's the Twins expert over at Zone Coverage. And then CJ, just to start right off the top, Twins desperately needed this one. Not only to avoid the 3-game sweep, but just to finally get a little bit of life, a little bit of momentum. They did it with pitching. They actually scored more than 2 runs this game. It's only one game, but nice to just see it, that they can still put together kind of a complete team victory, I guess, is it not?
Yeah, you said it in the best word, and that's desperate. This team was desperate to get a victory. Joe Ryan picked him up yesterday. I thought Pablo, outside of obviously the one inning with the errors, pitched really well as well, and the bats were able to reward the good pitching efforts. So overall, this is a win that they desperately needed, and they got it, and they're not out of the woods yet, but just, these post-game podcasts are a lot better after a win.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well said. Amen. Lots to get into. I do want to talk about Joe Ryan's 7-inning. It was a masterclass, man. 2-hit outing. But first, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. All right. I guess, the best way to sum this up, again, Twins trying to avoid this 3-game sweep today, desperately waiting for the bats to wake up, just do anything. But like you kind of said, luckily Joe Ryan came to play. 7 innings of, it was pretty much flawless pitching, right? A 2-hitter, 4 Ks, no walks, 85 pitches. Griffin Jacks, Johan Duran, they come in the 8th and 9th, and they clean up the rest. Ty France hits his first home run of the season. That was nice to see. He was actually 3 for 4 today with 2 ribbies. Matt Wallner with a solo jack. Again, Twins win this one 4-0. They move to 4-8 on the year. CJ, just kind of start with your biggest takeaways, your A topics, I guess. What stuck out the most from tonight's game?
Yeah, Joe Ryan, obviously, with the big pitching performance is going to be the big thing to take away. 7 innings and really efficient, kind of that pitch count somewhere in the mid-80s, I think, by the time it was all said and done.
85,
only allowed a couple hits. Yeah, 85, exactly. So, yeah, he had a really good outing today, just really efficient, and really what the team needed was somebody who's going to go in and just give them a chance, and especially with the way the bats have been playing, you're going to have to be almost flawless, and they were, and the Twins were able to scrape a couple by, eventually get a couple home runs to kind of bring out that gap. And I think as well that helped out with the pitching with Joe Ryan on the A topic was the defense behind him. It had been sloppy the day before, but they turned it around and had a good defensive effort. Ed Julian made a nice play on a real short hop that could have been ugly. Harrison Bader had a cannon to double off Bobby Witt Jr. off second base. Willie Castro made a great diving stop earlier in the game. This is one where you just saw the defense come to play a little bit today and help out a pitcher who was already rolling, and that's how you get a shutout.
We all knew heading into the year, the A topic for the Twins was pitching is going to be the bedrock, kind of the foundation of this team. Again, I already asked you how refreshing it was just to see Joe Ryan look like his best version of Joe Ryan tonight. Do you think that was the best outing, I guess, of any pitcher this season through these 12 games for the Twins?
Yeah, off the top of the head, it's got to be. Just, again, it's not just the fact that he pitched 7 innings. It was shut out. It was efficient. He was taking care of batters, and it's just at a time that they really needed it. I think so. And like you talk about with Joe Ryan, that's the pitcher that we saw before he got hurt in August. That was a guy who was really in control. Him and Ober were battling for that number 2 spot in the rotation all season long, and Joe Ryan was really winning that battle against Ober, and Ober was pitching well. Joe Ryan was really, really on his stuff before he got hurt at the end of last year. And to see him kind of pick right back up where he left off is a really encouraging sign.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
I think I know which direction you're going, but we'll find out here right now. MVP of the game tonight, CJ. Who was it and why?
Well, it's Joe Ryan, because of course it was, for all the reasons that we've already talked about. They needed to get a win. Obviously, Pablo is kind of the stopper in the old baseball cliche. Your number one pitcher is the one that's supposed to stop the losing streak, stop whatever skid you're on. And Pablo did his part, but they just weren't able to win the game. But Joe Ryan gets the title of stopper here today. You desperately needed a win just to stop this kind of bad vibe on the 3-game losing streak, and for him to come in and basically just refuse to let his team down tonight. Just overall, it's a huge performance when they needed it.
Yeah, well said there. Plenty more deep dive in this one. We'll get into what we'll be talking about tomorrow morning at the water cooler. Plus, we got to preview this new Detroit Tigers series, 3-game series that starts tomorrow. But that's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the MLB. Right now, FanDuel is giving you a chance at a huge return, $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you win your first $5 bet. Why I love FanDuel? When you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can go check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Again, $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you win your first $5 wager. Go check it all out over at FanDuel.com. Get on some MLB future action while you're there. Twins plus 250 right now to win the AL Central. Pablo Lopez still sitting at 20-1 to win the American League Cy Young. It's all sitting up over at FanDuel.com. Again, check it all out over at FanDuel.com and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the MLB. All right, nerdy stat of the day time. Don't want to put you on the spot, but you got any crazy stat or fun analytic Twins related tonight?
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed this, the new Twins.tv format. And they were starting to do this a little bit last year, but they really get nerdy with the numbers. It's really fun to see them kind of bring that up on the broadcast. And they brought one up again, the Willie Castro diving stop to end. It was like the 3rd or the 4th inning, somewhere in there. Just kind of outstretched, put the glove towards the baseline, got the ball, came up firing across the diamond. Willie Castro threw that ball across the diamond at 85.2.3 miles an hour. That's impressive. What's even more impressive is when you consider it with the league average, which is 83 miles an hour. So he's throwing that ball just a little bit hotter than the league's average, kind of that league average third baseman would do. And a multi-positional player like Willie Castro, the outfield arm definitely helps out when you're at the hot corner. And that was a big play for the Twins early on in the game. And Willie Castro showing off that arm strength a little bit.
This is what you'll be talking about.
So after this 4-0 victory, again, needed this one to avoid the 3-game sweep in KC against a division rival. What do you think the water cooler talk is at work tomorrow morning after this one? Or, in the Twins group chat messages, what's everybody talking about tonight?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that they'll be talking about, or maybe one of the more underrated things, is going to be that throw that Harrison Bader had to nab Bobby Witt Jr. At second base. It was in the bottom half of the inning after the Twins had that happen to them with Larnach getting kind of caught in the middle of a rundown, thinking the throw was going to go home when he was on second base, so he was going to go to third. Larnach got nabbed there. But then the bottom half of the inning, Bobby Witt Jr. getting a double, getting on second base, and then all of a sudden there's that hard hit ball to center field. Harrison Bader catches it and just throws a frozen rope over to second base to nab one of the fastest players in baseball, and Bobby Witt Jr. That's one where I was watching, and to nobody in particular, just kind of in the room to myself, just kind of let out an audible scream, because that was really impressive. And it's really impressive for the Twins to have a Gold Glove center fielder in Bader backing up Buxton in center field.
Yeah, it's a thing of beauty, man. And that was a thing of beauty tonight. That was pure baseball art for sure. Glad you brought that up. 12 games in the books now. Oh, what's like the 10,000-foot aerial view of this team? Like, what's the best and worst of these 12 games for the Twins? What have they been so far? What have we seen?
Well, I think obviously the starting pitching for the most part has been good, especially when you kind of look at the core four, when you look at obviously Lopez, when you look at Ober, when you look at Ryan, and then of course Simeon Woods Richardson. Chris Peck has kind of been up and down, but he's kind of, for lack of a better term, in a lame duck year in the contract. That's on the positive side. On the negative side is probably just, this team is just a team that is I know they just won today and they had a really nice game, but up until that, like kind of really uninspiring baseball. When you look at the way they ended this season, last season, they had nothing really exciting happen in the winter to kind of rile up the fan base. And then the ownership news taken the way it did. It's just a team that really kind of needs some kind of positive shot in the arm. And with the season starting out the way it did, just really hasn't provided anything to get super excited about this team with a 4-8 start.
You know, as an owner, thinking about the product I'm putting out on the field, I know on paper we were excited, we were hopeful, we were optimistic heading into the year, kind of wide open division. It just hasn't been a very exciting product. It just really hasn't. And I don't know the fan attendance. I know, again, we're only 12 games in, stuff like that, but so far it's been very lackluster. To your point, who's a guy through these 12 games that struggle, but you watch and say, I'm not worried about him. He's going to come around. He's just fine. And maybe who's a guy that has struggled and you say, something just looks a little off right now. Something ain't right now with that guy.
Yeah, I think early on, I think Carlos Correa, I believe the Twins TV had a stat that said Carlos Correa has hit like somewhere in the range of like 7 to 10 baseballs this season so far at over 100 miles an hour off the bat. And only one of them was a hit. And you're starting to see that luck turn around now. He had another double today that was crushed down the line, and he had a couple doubles yesterday. But that's a guy who obviously has had a slow start. His OPS in the first 2 weeks is like 500, which is not good. But he's starting to turn that around. I think I'm believing in that. And kind of somebody who's on the other flip side, Mickey Gasper, I know is a great story. I know that he's somebody that, like, just on a personal note, you want to root for, like a career minor leaguer who's getting a shot with the Twins and getting a chance to do something on the big leagues, and that's awesome. But he just hasn't quite, he's gotten the roster spot because Brooks Lee and Royce Lewis are hurt, and he had just a brutal error yesterday that brought a run across. And it's not that I don't believe in Mickey Gasper, but it's just like, it's a nice spring training story that now once you get into the regular season, you're like, I love you, man, but I just, if you want to stay up here, I need to see a little bit more out of you.
Starting to fizz out a little bit. The momentum, right? The story's starting to fizz out just a little bit. Well said there. Two good names for sure. Quick preview of the Tigers series coming up tomorrow. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 10 million members to date. And for me, my money, it's just by far the easiest. It's the most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. It's so simple, too. All you got to do, you pick more or less on 2 or more players' stats. You watch the winnings roll in. Baseball season, obviously, officially here. So whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, home runs, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less. Add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly with any $5 wager. All right, real quick here before we wrap up. Twins get their next 6 games all in a row at home, which is nice. Starts tomorrow versus the Tigers. Chris Paddock on the mound, 7:10 first pitch, and that's streaming on Apple TV, by the way. Quick series preview, knowing what you know about Detroit thus far, 2 weeks in to the 2025 season, as well as Chris Paddock getting the Game 1 nod.
Yeah, I think overall with Chris Paddock, I think it's just he's had 2 starts that, again, have just been very up and down. I know on Sunday, of course, it looked really great. Twins are up 7-1. And then, of course, he starts to crumble a little bit. And then we all know what happened after that. Chris Paddock has been a guy the Twins really banked on coming into the year with his veteran experience. And they really liked what they've seen out of him. And they were really trying to see what they can do overall to try and salvage a little bit of that, a bit of the contract they signed him to. But overall, it just feels like he's a guy that gives up a little too many base runners, is prone to that home run a little bit, and just hasn't been able to kind of get the momentum that he was in the early part of last season. And it makes a lot of people kind of question, should he be in the rotation? Should they just move him to the bullpen? He doesn't really want to go to the bullpen. And I just think that it's if Chris Paddock kind of goes on the way he is, we could see him go to the bullpen probably by the All-Star break or maybe a little bit later. But so if he wants to get things back on the right track, he's got to start stacking a couple good starts kind of back to back here in a hurry.
Yeah, well said there. Twins avoid the sweep. They beat KC tonight 4-0, thanks to, again, 7 gorgeous innings from Joe Ryan tonight. Well needed. Huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. And all you guys coming in the chat with us from game to game, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Go check out all CJ's work on Twitter, at BombCJ30. Any new work you're putting out over at ZoneCoverageMN.com or anywhere else we can go check out?
Yeah, well, last week I had a piece kind of out talking a little bit about the Twins' unluckiness versus unproductivity with the baseball. I know we talked about a little bit on last week's shows, and just kind of, are they getting unlucky? Are they being unproductive? A little bit of both. I'm having something come out kind of in the next couple days talking about the Twins and their kind of ability versus inability to do the little things. And like we saw yesterday with and today, defense, little suspect, base running, a little suspect. Some of the other things, just kind of talking about that Twins, that's going to be coming out here in the next couple days.
Love it. Can't wait to check that out. Again, that's up at ZoneCoverageMN.com, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay, Perfect. You know what you just reminded me of, and I know we got to get out of here, but last year the Twins kind of were up and down, so-so, and then they had that like 12, 13-game winning streak. Do you remember about what time of year that was? Was that in like May? Was that even later than I'm thinking? Was that in like June? Because up to that point, too, they were kind of so-so, kind of a 500 ball club as well, were they not?
Yeah, it was kind of that late April, early May kind of part. That's when we found out about the rally sausage. So I don't know. Right. I don't know if they have another thing, because Kyle Farmer started that and he's not on the team anymore. So I don't know who's going to be needing to start a new religion on that team to get a 10-plus game winning streak. But we're going to need to find out soon, because right now they got to start stacking some wins together.
Maybe that's the problem. 4-8 thus far. Maybe that's the problem. Luke Inman on X, at Luke_Spinman. Again, Twins Tigers game 1 tomorrow. First pitch 7:10 p.m. streaming on Apple TV. We'll see it right here, same time, same place. But until then, signing out.